Obviously.
Good afternoon. My name is Samantha Hanson, the National Sales Manager here at Pepper Money, and I'm joined by Steve Rabbit, our SME on personal loans. How you going, Steve?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Sam.
Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
So as you're aware, everything today is about personal loans. Just a bit of housekeeping. We do have the chat function throughout today's session. We don't have anybody on there who can answer your questions on the spot. However, we do have access to the report after today's session. So if you ask a question and you're not anonymous, we will be able to get back to you after today's session within the following 30 minutes after today's webinar. So you won't have to wait long to get a response on those questions. There will also be a survey at the end of today's session. We had issues with our survey on the last personal loan webinar, but today I can assure you it is all fixed. And within that survey, you've got the option to let us know if you have a scenario that you would like assistance with. You've also got the option to request further training and on a one-on-one basis virtually with your relationship manager to learn more about the personal loan product. And then there's a couple of other questions in there designed to provide support to you. So please do take the time to complete that survey. It will come to you after you close out of the webinar today. But that's enough of that. Let's get cracking into today's session. And for those that have joined me on a prior webinar, this is a slide that features in all of our webinars just to convey our lending breadth and policy depth. So when I first started at Pepper, we only had the home loans product, and it was a prime, a near prime, and a specialist option. Fast forward 6 years, and we now have commercial loans, SMSF loans, construction loans, and personal loans. Now, within commercial, SMSF, and construction, you have your prime and a near prime offering, both full doc and alt doc. With the home loans, we have options through our cascading credit model ranging from prime, near prime clear, near prime, specialist, and specialist plus, all with full doc and alt doc options. And we have the personal loan product, which is what we're touching on today. Now, this product is purely prime driven, and you'll learn more about the type of client, the credit profile, and what's acceptable when you're looking to provide a solution with Pepper Money for your clients who are looking for a personal loan. So what is the opportunity for personal loans? I can tell you it is humongous. You have got the personal loan market has seen a growth of 1.7% in Australia, which is up to $30 billion. And each month, personal loan applications are being submitted and at a volume of $2.5 billion, which is absolutely crazy. And the best thing that's supporting brokers is that consumers have shifted away from the banks in the personal loan market. So that means there's more opportunity available for you to provide those solutions to your clients. So what are the benefits to you? So client retention, diversified income, and competitive advantage all flow through to the one competitive advantage, I should say, for you, which is creating your diversified income streams. You generally create a stickier client or a client who will stay loyal to you with the more solutions that you're able to provide them by providing them that holistic support. Now, who can you help with personal loans? So these are your 3 common borrower profiles, and we'll delve into what those common loan purposes are that you find for each of these profiles. But typically we assist with your refinances, your young and independent borrowers, and families. So the most common personal loan purposes that we see is debt consolidation. So you can consolidate an unlimited amount of personal debt, pending they do have that clean credit profile, because we are looking for that prime style client. With debt consolidation, we do need to verify that loan purpose. So we will need to get the statements, we'll need to confirm the debt because we will need to make those payments to that lender to pay out that debt. Other common loan purposes we see are car purchases, caravans, trailers, jet ski purchases, anything that we can, what was the word you were telling me earlier, Steve?
Register.
Anything that we can register our interest on. So not just cars, we can support with a whole lot of other motor vehicle loan purposes. Renovations is a big one, so we're always doing renovation loans. Travel, cosmetics. We were even discussing earlier that we can fund your stamp duty or your client's stamp duty and solicitor's fees as well. So if you've got a client who may be short on their funds to complete, because a lot of their funds are being taken up for that stamp duty, then we can actually assist with up to a $50,000 unsecured loan or up to a $100,000 secured loan with multiple loan purposes within that one loan. So there could be the stamp duty and legal fees. That could be combined with a car purchase, renovations, whatever the situation is. And debt consolidation is actually the only loan purpose that we will verify. All of the other loan purposes are simply stated purpose. So we don't need to validate or verify where the funds are going. So here we have a case study or scenario that I'll run you through now. So we have a home buyer who wants $30,000 for home improvements. Clients also have a car loan of $15,000 with repayments of $749 per month on a 2015 Toyota Hilux. So the client's looking to pay out the car loan and offer a vehicle as security. The client was looking to borrow $45,900, including a broker fee of $990. So using our personal loan portal, the broker was able to get the client's upfront interest rate of 6.45% in less than 2 minutes with no impact to their credit score. So by combining the debts into one no-fee personal loan and using the car as security, we were able to offer a lower interest rate with repayments of just $157 a week. Plus, no invoice required for home improvements. As mentioned, it's stated purpose, and the client was able to get on with renovations quickly. So we have one more case study here for you. So we have a client who has 3 unsecured debts, including 1 personal loan and 2 credit cards, with a total monthly repayment of $1,115. So they're looking to consolidate all the debts and have one repayment and increase cash flow. The client was looking to borrow $39,990, including a broker fee of $990. So once again, using the personal loan portal, the client was able to get the client's interest rate in less than 2 minutes with no impact to the credit score. So by consolidating the debts into one no-fee personal loan over 5 years, we were able to reduce the client's repayments to $137 a week, providing a huge savings to the client of $522 a month. So a great outcome. All right. So let's go through a product deep dive. So how can you help your clients? So we have a smart application process whereby if you log into our broker portal, you will need to be accredited to access the personal loan portal component of the broker hub because everything else is ungated except for the personal loans. But within there, you can get a rate quote, as mentioned with that last case study. It only takes 4 hours to a couple of minutes, I should say, to get a pre-approval, 4 business hours for your unconditional approval, and then 2 business hours for settlement plus disbursement of those funds. So extremely fast SLAs. Tailored interest rates are provided within that rate quote process as well. And it is all dependent on that client's comprehensive credit report. Once again, we are looking for somebody who has that clear credit profile. Obviously, the higher the credit score and the better the profile, the lower the rate, and those rates do start at that 6.45%. Now, something that I love here is the fact that you can earn a fee. So you can charge your client a broker mandate fee. Now, the maximum fee is $2,500 for loans up to $40,000. So our personal loan product does go up to that $100,000, and you can earn a fee up to $40,000, being $2,500. Now, I've just run you through the SLAs. It's 2 minutes for a rate quote, 4 business hours for uncon, and a further 2 business hours for settlement and disbursement. I don't know about you, but $2,500 for less than a day's work seems pretty attractive to me. So as mentioned, we've got the loans, the interest rates starting at that 6.45% up to 26.95. You've got your unsecured loans starting from 5,000 up to 50,000, and then your secured 50 to 100,000. Now, the only caveat here is if your client is looking to purchase a car and it is the sole loan purpose, they will be capped at $50,000. However, say for example, they're looking to get a car and they want to do some renovations and they want some money out to go traveling, then we can take that loan up to $100,000. You have no fees with our personal loan product. Yes, you heard me right, no fees. So no fees, no monthly fees, no application fee, no ongoing fee, just no fees whatsoever for that client. You've got your loan terms up to 7 years with no rate loading. We do accept joint applicants, and you can do up to 4 loan purposes within the one application. And they have got that flexibility around repayments where we can do a weekly or fortnightly cadence for them as well. So as mentioned, this is a little snippet from the product guide, which does confirm the no fees. So your interest rate type is fixed. As mentioned, you've got your flexibility around your weekly repayments or fortnightly repayments. And as you can see here, no estab fee, no security registration fee, no break fees, no early repayment fee, and no administration fee. So, Steve, let's see how your subject matter experience is in the personal loan space. So I'm going to throw to you. Can you take us through the acceptable employment types, please?
Sure will. Thanks, Sam. With regards to acceptable employment types, we can take from day one for new employed individuals, provided they are not in probation. And for a second job, we don't have any shading. So if someone, I'll just sort of recap this around new employment and the second job is, if they're in probation, then they have to be out of probation unless they're a skilled worker, then we'll reconsider that. Second job, we don't shade it. We'll just take the second job income. It has to meet the normal criteria of being on board for anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending on the skill, being a skilled worker or not. Self-employed, it's a real simple process, and that is the ABN has to be 24 months or greater. We're going to use the most recent NOA today, which is 2024. And we will then collect their BAS statement, which is the most recent quarterly BAS. If they don't have a BAS and they're not GST registered, that's okay. We will use 90 days of their bank statements for their business. We don't use anything in that statement or the BAS other than we use it to ensure the business is still transacting. For casual work, we can start at a 3-month casual employment. We take 100% of the income, but in saying that, that's for a skilled worker. If it's an unskilled worker, we'll be leaning towards a 6-month mark. So that should cover the acceptable employment types. With regards to the income for PAYG is we're going to be using the full-time, part-time, casual. We use their year-to-date income. There may be times, because every personal loan needs to get the 90-day bank statements provided. There may be times where someone's income has been impacted over the last 90 days, and the year-to-date might not be a true reflection. And obviously, as a responsible lender, we don't want to put someone into a loan that they can't afford. But we basically take the year-to-date for the employment for PAYG. If someone is paid monthly, quarterly, biannually for commissions, we'll take 80% of that. We don't take annual commission or commission bonuses. Around rental income, it's 90%. The property has to be rented. We don't use rental evaluations in anticipation that the property will be rented. We do use 100% of family benefits as a secondary income. So a real simple example of that would be if someone was earning $1,000 a fortnight and they had $500 worth of family benefits, we would use the $500 for a total of $1,500 a fortnight. If that was reversed and they're earning $500 a week or $500 a fortnight and $1,000 a fortnight in benefits, we would cap that at 50%. So it'd be $500 worth of family benefits for a total of $1,000. With regards to car allowances, we take 100% of that.
So just a question on the family payments and pensions, Steve. So obviously you've mentioned there needs to be a primary and secondary income. So we wouldn't be able to rely solely on the pension income.
Correct. That's correct. So we are relying on that as a secondary income, but in conjunction to this, I'll add that we're one of the very few lenders that will take someone who's on workers' compensation. So on that, it's a case-by-case basis. Sadly, the easiest one is someone who's on a long-term workers' compensation claim. They would, provide their evidence that they're receiving that money, and if they qualify from a credit point of view, we would use that as their income. If it is someone that's receiving it and just started on it, there's a bit more work to be done, but we can consider that, provided that determine they have a job to go back to and that they can service a loan based on the conditions of the workers' compensation payment.
And I would assume that would be the same with your income protection as well. Income protection.
Income protection, unless they're actually on workers' compensation, that is what we're looking for. The income protection, unfortunately, the defense long-term pension they may be on, that falls outside of our level of comfort. So we just do the workers' compensation.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so showing a client's history.
Yeah, like I say, every application needs to have 90 days bank statements. So in saying that, part of any credit condition will be that we have proof of their income no greater than 30 days old. So there is a matter of convenience. You can, if you have the ILION statement already, you can input the code when you go to submit the application. You can upload the PDF version of the ILION, but we also will use manual statements. Again, one of the very few lenders that will do that. But our preference is the ILION statement. And at times we may request for a payslip. In some cases, it might be beneficial around the customer's year to date and not a true reflection within the bank statements.
Yeah. Okay.
And the self-employed, like I said earlier, is the notice of assessment not greater than 21 months old, and the quarterly BAS in 9 days business if they don't have the quarterly BAS.
Perfect.
Just adding in, we can accept in our personal loan one paid telco or utility default. We don't have a guideline around what the maximum dollar amount is, whether it's $100 or greater, or $1,000. Again, some other lenders have some qualifications on that. As long as it's paid, and as always, our credit assessors are looking for a little bit of a story, then we just play on. That would be reflected in their repayments, which would be reflected in the rate that they're offered.
Perfect. ID.
All right. This is where we have two facets of our business where we have to have either a current Australian driver's license or an Australian passport that has not expired greater than 2 years. Unfortunately, we don't take any ID, no matter how it's been published from whatever government agency. They have to be an Australian driver's license or an Australian passport. We don't take any visas, so they have to either be a PR or Australian citizen. And there is a lot of opportunity around proof of address, whether it's on the driver's license or bank statements, and there's some other options there that you can reflect on. But majority of the time, it's on the driver's license or the bank statement.
Perfect. Perfect. So I think you've just answered one of our questions from the Q&A actually, Steve. So we've got here, I have a client who is full-time employed over 2 years. However, she's on a bridging visa. She's in the process of applying for PR. So that would tell me that's a no at the moment until she's actually got the PR. Correct.
That unfortunate, it's that's just part of our funding arrangements. It's just a PR.
Perfect. There is a couple of questions and I think we've got time. So we might just pause and answer these. So we've got, for income evidence, do we need pay slips and bank statements or both? So Obviously, we've just alluded that we do need the pay slips and then the 90 days transaction account statement. Is that correct?
Correct. So if the salary credits are in the bank statements, then only upload the bank statements.
Yeah.
You don't have to upload pay slips unless requested, because the salary credit should be in the bank statements. We're going to be looking for that. And to your point, for the general living expenses, we're going to need to have their transactional account to ensure that we are expensing it. And just to maybe cover that off now, around the expenses is we take the higher of three. Is declared, which is obviously what the customer's told you, or the average in their bank statements, which is evident because every personal loan has a bank statement that provides the last 90 days, or HEMS. HEMS is not calculated by us. All we do is we use the HEMS that the government sets every quarter, and it's going to be based on a whole bunch of different factors. So as much as I would love to think that a married couple with 3 kids can live off of $1,500 a month, and they're earning $150,000 a year, the HEMS is going to be higher than that. So we'll take it higher.
All right, beautiful. All right, I think we've got a couple more questions coming to Q&A whilst we're here. For self-employed entity, do you provide unsecured overdraft personal loan?
Yeah, our personal loans are either secured or unsecured, as we've heard earlier from Sam, but we don't have a line of credit. It's not a redraw facility. It's a fixed term and a fixed rate. And as also mentioned, there is no fees whatsoever. Quite often people might use this product for an interim solution when they know that they just need it, and that's acceptable. We obviously prefer to have it on the books as long as.
That's right. So there's a couple of questions in here around accreditation. If you're not sure if you're accredited, there is a survey, as mentioned, coming out after we close out today's session. It will have a question in there. Do you want to become accredited? So if you're unsure, you can always tick that, and then we'll be able to come back to you to confirm if you are accredited. And if you're not, we will send you the quiz via your email so that you can get accredited.
I'll just add one more thing about our when we do our expenses is if someone is married or de facto and that partner is working, what we ask for is your partner working? You tick a box, and we don't ask for any evidence for that spousal income. We do have competitors that ask for all that evidence, and the responsibility obviously sits with you as a broker to ensure that if you're going to be splitting expenses, accommodation costs, that if you're saying that spouse is working, well, then that's fine. But we are not going to ask for that evidence.
So can I ask a question off the back of that? And then that will also tie into one of our brokers' questions here. They've got here, do we care about liabilities, the client's liabilities? So yes, we will definitely need to factor in the client's liabilities into the assessment to make sure that the loan we're providing is not unsuitable and they can afford it. But to your point just then, Steve, is say, for example, we've got a sole applicant who has a joint mortgage and they have alluded to 50% of the repayment. We're not going to go and then ask them to see if the spouse can afford the other 50%.
Correct. Yeah, we don't have any spousal proof of spousal income. We will take if the mortgage was $2,000 a month, we do have a loading of 10%. So it would be $2,200 divided by 2, provided that you've disclosed that the partner's working and they split it at 50%. And their portion would be $1,100. That's how we simply work it.
Great, that's easy. I've got here for another business, I assume. Do you lend against existing assets, vehicles? For another biz, do you lend against existing assets or vehicles?
Well, all the loans that we do are consumer related, so we're all covered by the NCCP. So we don't do any business related lending. The assets that we use as security must be in the applicant's name, sole name. So I'm hoping that might have ticked a few of the boxes there.
Yeah, I think so. So another question here around the broker mandate fee, and is it funded? Yes, it is funded, but you can't exceed the maximum loan limits. So it would be up to 50 for unsecured and up to 100 for secured, incorporating that broker mandate fee. I've got here what sort of rate does a thin credit, for example, first time borrowing a car? So do you know what the minimum credit score is for the personal loan product?
Well, the way that the score is calculated is there's 120 different factors that we use after we take a look at the application here. There's 120 different factors that are taken into consideration when the rate is provided. And as Sam said earlier, it is tailored for that individual. So it could be dependent on whether they are asset backed, whether they're renting, whether they're boarding, and how their RHI history has been on other accounts, the number of inquiries they've had. That is all going to drive an outcome of what the credit will, the interest rate will drive. But to try and, I guess, maybe just look back to the original question is, we are not afraid to do new credit files. So we do cap it at $15,000 unsecured and $25,000 secured, provided that the bank statement will be in order and then they meet the eligibility around employment. And if you, when I get onto the quote, I'll give you a little bit of a tip between a boarder and a renter.
Perfect. Love it. See, this is why we've got you on today, Steve. So we'll come back to the Q&A because I can see there are a few questions building in there, but we'll just carry on and we'll answer those at the end of the session. I think we'll have some time today to do that. So how to become accredited, as mentioned, you do go to the broker portal. If you do say that you do want to become accredited within the survey today, you don't need to follow this process. Just be mindful that we will send you a recording of this video, of this webinar as well. So if you don't need to busily write down anything, you'll have this to refer back to. And that communication will come out to you by the end of the week. You jump onto the broker portal, submit your details using the form, acknowledge your responsibilities via return email, and then you'll gain personal loan accreditation and also access to that particular part of the broker portal as well. So you could do your rate quote and submit your application and all that type of stuff, and also use the serviceability calculator. So you need to be accredited to use the servicing calc. Within that side of the portal, you upload your supporting documents, so your bank statements and ID. You're submitting your loan for approval in there. Once you're conditionally approved, you upload the requested documents and select submit documents for review. Once the conditions have been ticked off and you can generate your loan contracts and you get them signed, settlement, as mentioned earlier on, is within 2 hours of completed document submission. It is such a quick process. It's all controlled at your fingertips. You will control everything. Obviously, you've got to wait for the client to provide documents. But all in all, you can earn $2,500 within 24 hours more than that within 1 business day. It's such a great opportunity. So Steve's going to take us through the rate quote process now. Again, if you are struggling to follow along with this, not to say that Steve's not going to do a great job, but I can see obviously the writing is a little bit small. So if you did want further support on how to get a quote, you can absolutely request that one-on-one further training within the survey, and then you can have your relationship manager reach out to you so they can run you through this end to end. All right.
All right. If possible, if we can go to the very beginning of, there we go. Perfect. Okay. So if we go back.
Yep.
Okay. So this is the screen you want to see when you sign on, and your username is usually going to be initial and your surname, and we've incorporated the Pepper Money ID, and then your temporary password if it's your first time, or reset your password. So if you're trying to use your email address, it's not going to work. It's not going to reset. So just have a bit of patience and just remember, just refer back to your accreditations at pepperlending.com.au, original email if you need to find your username. If not, send it in to accreditation so we can help you out with that. Okay, so once you've signed in, the next page that you will see is the page where you want to start to initiate the quote. In this case, we're going to select and process a single applicant. And there you go. There's always going to be a prompt here. If there's any special considerations, we'll then be able to do that and include that in there. But it's just a good general overview. This is the 90 seconds it takes, or up to, from sign on to getting the quote amount. It takes 2 minutes. Follow your nose. You're going to need the customer's ID. So usually it's let's say the driver's license in this case. Updating the information here. This information is critical that you get right, because this is the information that's going to link to the credit file to get you the quote. If you've cut some corners, you get anything wrong, date of birth's wrong, then what's going to happen is it's not going to connect to the file, and it's going to give you a default rate of 20.95%. And that's not necessarily a true reflection. As you can see here, you can actually preempt the address. If you try and put it all in the address, it won't. So once you've preempted the address, you can then ensure that you've captured at least 36 months, and then you will continue through the application. And again, follow your nose. Ensure accuracy is very, very important here in regards to aligning that customer and matching the credit file to get their true rate that they're going to get. Yeah, and as you can see, in about 90 seconds from when I started talking till now, tick your box that you've read it, get your rate, and then your rate's going to come up. You're going to have some options around your rate. You're going to be able to action it immediately and continue, and that will take you into a next page where you put a little bit more detail in and then submit it, and including the bank statements. You can actually say, no, I'll save it and come back to it later. What this also does, though, is it allows you to be able to come back and go back and forth on this, because at this stage, you've got a rate. It's a soft check on the credit file for the customer. You will know if we proceed to the next page and completed the rest of the application, which will take a couple more minutes. You would absolutely be prompted a number of times to say that you can do a hard check. So until now, it's just a soft check. So there's no impact on the customer's credit file, and you know what the rate is.
That's excellent. So that's as easy as it is, everybody. I think it's really important to know we do have some brokers that get stuck around how do we move on to the process, through the process and to the application process. There are some little on the bottom of this page, you can see that there's, you're probably not going to be able to read it, but there's two red squares there. One is save and one is back to application. So in terms of navigating the application process, you'll always find sort of save and next on that bottom bar in red for you to continue through the process. It's quite easy for brokers to miss those prompts and people get stuck with how to move forward. So just be mindful of that.
Here's a tip.
Yes.
Is we do cap borders at $40,000. So what happens is if you get a oops message, 99% of the times it's because you put it in for a border for over $40,000.
Oh, the loan size.
The loan, yeah, the loan amount.
Okay.
So there is a cap on our on the border. So if it's a renter or a home buyer or home purchaser, you can go up to $50,000. Now, if you want to do a secured loan for a caravan for $80,000, you still go through this process. It's going to cap you at $50,000 to get you the rate. In the next page is where you then put the asset in, and it'll then discount the rate based on a secured loan. And you can then increase it up to $100,000. In our coming OE improvements, you won't have to do it this way. But this is a workaround.
So this is a workaround until we update.
Yeah.
Amazing. There's lots of enhancements and lots of money and being spent on technology with these platforms, so that we are doing continuous improvement. If you ever do have any feedback, more than happy to receive that, so we can put it to the powers that be to make sure that we are supporting you and providing you with a seamless experience. Okay, so support for you. So pre-submission, so submit scenarios to your personal loan relationship manager. Everybody on the webinar today does have a personal loan relationship manager. If you are unsure of who that is, once again, please tick that box in the survey that's going to come out to you so you can understand who that is, because that is the person you'll be liaising with for scenarios, application, support, settlement inquiries, all that type of stuff. They're your main conduit with Pepper Money to support you with personal loans.
As you can see on this support as well, we're, again, one of the few lenders that encourage you after submission. You can workshop it with your RM. Then after submission, you can call in and speak to the assessor if you had any questions. And at settlement, if there's any other issues, again, we give you the green light to speak to the person that's looking after that application, which doesn't always happen in, with every lender.
Absolutely. So your relationship manager is your go-to, but as Steve alluded to, if you have got a live application, you know, obviously it's going to always be better to get direct access to the people who can fix the issue or answer your queries straight away. So you do have that direct access to credit phone number there, where just with option 1 to speak to credit, and then option 2 to speak to settlements. So you will have this support page sent out to you in our comms after today's session. And then you also have this webinar recording to refer back to as well. Okay, so we have 5 or 10 minutes before we close out the session. For any of you who would like to drop off, you can drop off. There will be the survey that comes out to you once you do close out of the session today. Please, please, please answer that, because we can obviously be able to support you a lot better. But otherwise, we might just jump on and answer some of these questions since we've got a few minutes to spare. Okay, so if an applicant is married, but only one of them is applying for the loan as a sole borrower and both are PAYG full-time, will Pepper Money apply halved living expenses and liabilities? So we've already covered that one off. So the answer is yes, and we don't need the verification for the spouse to support it, which is amazing. So the rate range is mid-6 to 26%, as you said. How do I know which rate is applicable on a specific case? Let's say in the first interview with the client, if they ask me what is the interest rate, how do I answer? So as advised, as soon as you become accredited for personal loans, you have access to that rate quote system where you can get that quote within under 2 minutes with a soft touch. So there's no impact to the client's credit report, and you can give them that guaranteed interest rate on the spot. And from there, you can continue on with the application if you like, or you can save that quote for later. Are living expenses split for those sole applications where partner is working? How are dependents treated? So would we halve the dependents if there's a couple, or would they all fall under the one spouse, under the one applicant?
Like I say, we'll use the higher of the 3, declared, average bank statements, or HEMS. So if they are splitting it, it'll be splitting it into consideration of whether they're married and how many dependents.
So say, for example, you've got just the wife is doing the personal loan application,
yes,
and they've got 4 kids.
Yes.
Could she just put 2 kids?
No,
or does
no,
she
she
have
puts 4.
She still puts 4, and then the halving the expenses.
And then the expenses will be,
okay,
adjusted accordingly. Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Is the personal loan applications lodged via Connective Solutions, or do we apply direct? So for personal loans, you go through the Pepper Money broker portal, but Connective is an approved aggregator to utilize our personal loan product. You just don't have an option via Connective Solutions. It would be Pepper Money. Do you have a product that would suit house flipping only, using each property as security, but not applying each time for credit? So sort of like a line of credit.
No, unfortunately
no. No. Can you pay out HO tax debt if it's under personal name and not under business?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's one of the purposes we don't fund, would be any tax debt or any business expenses is another common example we get asked for.
So
can I tell you what we will do?
Yes.
In conjunction, hopefully it might be your question, is if someone does have a tax debt and they are arrangements, we'll expense that arrangement amount. And if somebody is not on arrangement, we take their tax debt divided by 12 and add that in to their expenses. So if they can service it, that's how we will then, run the servicing to ensure that they can make their repayments accordingly.
So we'll still allow, if somebody has got a tax debt that's overdue, we'll allow them to borrow as long as they can afford the commitment.
Yep, and that's how we'll expense it. It's divided by 12, or if they have an arrangement.
Yeah, perfect. Broker commission. So this is a bit of a tricky subject. I do believe it's paid to the aggregator at 1.8%, and then it's up to the aggregator as to how much they pass on to you. So that is a question for your aggregator, but we do pay 1.8% to the aggregator. Can you please send me the contact details for the relationship manager? Absolutely. I can do that for you directly, Ishmeet. I will bring up the Q&A after today and I'll find out who it is for you and I'll send it to you straight away. Any valid visa category excluding permanent resident. So we've already covered off on that. They have to be a permanent resident.
Yeah.
Yep. I've applied for accreditation. Could you please update me on the progress of my application? That's just an email to Pepper Lending.
It would be accreditations at Pepper Lending.
Accreditations at pepperlending.com.au. So that's where you need to go to request that information. How do I know if I'm accredited? You can just reach out to accreditations at pepperlending.com.au and request all of your broker, your login and user details.
Just on the accreditations point, Sam, is once you've lodged that, you should gain your accreditation within about a 5-day period. However, some of the delays come with once you've lodged it, the accreditation team sends an email out that you need to acknowledge that you've read the 2 attachments around the AML and your responsibility there, and then reply back to that you've read that. Check your junk mail and spam because sometimes that's where it pops into.
Yeah.
And that tends to be a bit of a delay. So that's not much we can do about that, but that's we can just flag it with you. So if you've go into your junk and spam, have a look, and then just respond back to the accreditations at Pepper Lending request.
For those who are requesting for accreditation from us today, that will still be part of the process. You will still need to confirm that you have read it and acknowledged those 2 compliance documents. So what I will do is we'll just pop in a hints and tips in terms of the accreditation process to make sure you've checked that spam folder for that email. Because I know if you're anything like me and you get really busy today and you forget exactly what we've just discussed, I'll pop that in the post-webinar communication so that it's front of mind. Next question here, what did you mean when you said the broker fee is funded? Does that mean it is added on top of the loan amount they're assessed on? So if they want to borrow, say, 20K, the credit assessment is 20K and not on 2990. So yes, it is going to be funded. So the broker will need to confirm that they can afford it. And the broker fee must be not greater than the maximum loan limits that we apply for unsecured up to 50 and up to 100K for secured. So if they wanted to get a loan, as per your example here of 20K, and you wanted to add on that brokerage fee of $990, absolutely you can. The total loan will be $20,990, to which they need to confirm capacity for the entire amount. Do I need a separate personal loan accreditation if I already have Pepper Home Loan Broker accreditation? Yes, you do. It is a separate accreditation. So please answer accordingly in the survey. Okay, how is the broker mandate fee shown on the applicant's loan documents?
We refer to it in the contract. I think it's referred to as brokerage fee. In your system, it's referred to as origination fee.
Okay.
So you'll see in that $20,000 case, it would be $990 was charged. You'll see that, and you need to add that in when you put in the. You'll see where it's the term, the frequency of repayment. It'll have your origination fee. Then that's where you add it in, and then on the credit schedule, it'll call a brokerage fee.
Okay, perfect. Do we need to do anything during the settlement process?
If you put everything in and it's as the stock standard conditions, once it's submitted within 2 hours, it will get settled.
Perfect.
So the only exception that we have, not exception, the only thing that we do that I'd like to flag with you is on a debt consolidation, we must speak to the customer. We have a script we read just to ensure they're across that. So you can prep your customer for that. And yeah, and that's what the only thing that really comes up.
Perfect. So we have run out of time today, everybody, but if we haven't covered off on your answer, I will absolutely come back to everybody who has presented us with a question where you have not remained anonymous, and we'll come back to you within the next 15 to 20 minutes with a response on that directly. And please do answer the survey, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks so much, Steve.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.